Hey everybody, hey, Sean Woolsegel here from Sean Talks Cybersecurity. Sounds like I got a bit of an echo here. I gotta figure out what's going on there. I don't know what happened, but we'll get it figured out. It might just be on my end too. So let me just take 1 second. I don't know what caused this, but we're gonna get it. Okay, yeah, that's better. Okay, so it looks like it was just on my end. Okay, hey everybody, Sean Talks Cybersecurity here, and I just wanted to start a new thing. This is new for me, so basically, my new stream is going to go for about 2 to 4 hours every day. Basically, my goal is to go ahead and just kind of like let you know as my audience what I want to do here. I want to go ahead and have a live stream of me basically diving deep into hacking. My goal here with YouTube and Rumble and X and just this whole live streaming journey so far has been to really share my knowledge with you all and to just improve my skill set and just do the whole Feynman thing where, if you've ever heard of Feynman, Feynman has a technique that if you really know something, then you can teach it to others. And if you can't teach it to others, then you really don't know the thing. So that's kind of been my principle since I started this whole YouTube journey. It's a way to, number one, teach people, and number two, make sure that I actually know my stuff. So just want to go ahead and get started here and dive into some hacking and some cybersecurity. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. See, I got somebody in the chat here. Just want to say hello. Hi, Ao. How's it going? Hope you're having a good day so far today. Thanks for joining the live stream. Okay. So a lot of this is going to be, like in the beginning here, I'm going to probably do a lot of talking. But as I go along and as I dive into some of these deeper, more intense boxes, I might go ahead and just spend some time just like, working through it. And you guys can watch me as I work through it. And I'll explain my thought process as I go through. But in these beginning stages, it's going to be a lot of what you've already seen and what you're already used to. But yeah, let's talk. All right. So first of all, we've booted this up. We know that we have our admin and we have our password here, so that's good. And that's for this WinFun 2, right? And so that's really good to see. All right. Now, like any good hacker, you need to take good notes. So we're just going to go ahead and open up something to go ahead and take some notes in. And so I'm going to use Obsidian here, and I'm going to go ahead and say try hack me notes, and then today's date, which is, let's see, what is today's date? Today is the 18th, so we're just going to say 3/18/25. We can't do that, 3/18/25. So I'm new to this. This is a new tool for me. I've used Notion in the past. I'm switching over to Obsidian. I've heard really good things. And then, yeah, that's kind of it's kind of new for me. So let's go ahead and take our notes here. So we know that we have our IP, which is 10.10.123.175, in case we need that. We know our password is administrator, and then we know, our username is administrator, and our password is let me in 123 exclamation. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that one for now because we don't need it right now. So we can go ahead and complete this. Ao, about your question in the chat, would you mind setting up some labs with both VirtualBox and VMware so that we can follow along? Yeah, so eventually that is where I would like to take things, and so I will eventually do that. It's going to be a little bit until I get there, though. So if you want to stick with the channel, definitely appreciate you watching live. I would definitely be happy to do that. It's just going to take a little bit for us to get to that point, but yeah, that's in the cards. Okay, so system configuration. This is continuing our Windows discussion that we've been doing this past week. Basically, just what we've been, like just the basics of Windows. So system configuration. The system configuration utility, or msconfig, is for advanced troubleshooting, and its main purpose is to help diagnose startup issues, right? So reference the following document here for more information on the system configuration utility. Cool. So we got, basically we click on this here. And if we go ahead and type in this configuration, right, we can actually get this and it'll pop up. And then we can actually get into system config and we can see like diagnostic startup, normal startup. We can change our boot, do safe boot, no GUI boot, services. So if you're an admin, if you're a network admin, this is probably where you're going to spend a lot of your time. So utility has 5 tabs across the top. So general, boot, services, startup, and tools. Yep. In the general tab, we can select what devices and services for Windows to load upon boot. And then these options are normal, diagnostic, or selective. Yeah, so we got general, and then normal, diagnostic, or selective. Load system services and load startup items. Cool. In the boot, we can define various boot options for the operating system. You can add different things in here. No GUI, boot log. Services tab lists all services configured for the system regardless of their state. Running or stopped. A service is a special type of application that runs in the background. Yeah, so we talked a little bit about services yesterday. And so this is nice that you can actually customize these in here. You can disable all if you want, which is that's really handy. In the startup tab, you won't see anything interesting in the attached VM. Below is a screenshot of the startup tab for MS Config. Okay. And then, as you can see, Microsoft advises using Task Manager to manage, enable, disable startup items. Yeah, so that's what we, system configuration utility is not a startup management program. If you remember, this is kind of what we talked about yesterday. And if you remember, this is how we get to the Task Manager easily. Just right-click right here. And then, yeah, so you can actually get out here to services and then remove any of these services. And you can actually enable and disable the startup items. So just some points, just kind of some refreshers of like what we've been talking about. So I just minimize that. If you open Task Manager for the attached VM, you will notice that the Task Manager doesn't show a startup tab. There is a list of various utilities and tools in the Tools tab that we can run to configure the operating system further. There is a brief description of each tool to provide some insight into what the tool is for. Notice the selected command section, right? So, selected command section. Where's that at? Right here, okay. The information in this text box will change per tool. So if we do this, yeah, you can see it actually changes as we go through this. Good information to have. So you can go ahead and click launch and then system information, and you can see everything you need to know. This is actually a really handy thing to have if you need to troubleshoot just getting into sysinfo. And then like if you have, you know, other things we could do launch. I'm really curious what this will do. I don't even think, yeah, okay. So this is where we can go to uninstall program. So you can see like why system configuration could be a really handy tool if you're an admin. What is the name of the service that lists system internals as the manufacturer? Well, let's add this into our notes too, because this is important stuff. I really don't want to forget this. So let's say, let's go ahead and let's take a new note here. And let's say Windows handy notes, Windows handy notes. And so one of the tools that we know system configuration. And so in system configuration, we can do things like general. Why is that not tabbing correctly? I don't know why it's not, but it's okay. Oh man, here we go. General, boot, there we go. That's what we want. And then we have services, startup, tools. And if we want to do startup, we need to go ahead and define that this needs to actually be for Task Manager. We really want to go there. So just my little way of taking notes. You don't have to necessarily follow how I do it. You can do it however you like. This is just one way that I take notes, and this is kind of my quick and dirty method of taking notes. But note taking is essential to doing anything in this field. Like, you got to know how to take good notes. So, what is the name of the service that lists systems internals as the manufacturer? What is the name of the service? Systems internals as the manufacturer. Let's take a look here. Let's find it. Systems internals as the manufacturer. It didn't say in this, did it? I don't think it did. Systems internals as the manufacturer. Well, we got DuckDuckGo here, so the manufacturer. And so, yeah, we don't want to do these because these are like the giveaways, and I don't really want to go through that. But I mean, I kind of already gave it away to myself because I see this PS shutdown. So let's go ahead and see if we can actually find it if we sort through it. And I'm curious here. Yeah, PS shutdown. And let's see what else. I don't know if it'll show up in tools. I don't think it will. No. Okay. Yeah, so PS shutdown it is. I really don't want to do this stuff here where we go out and just kind of like cheat on it, because that's not teaching anything. Like, I don't like that. I wish that I could have just found it without seeing all these different walkthroughs. And don't get me wrong, like, walkthroughs are great, but like the thing is, I would rather do it the hard way and figure it out the hard way than do it this way, because you're not learning anything when you do that, in my opinion. So that's just my little bit of a rant here. PS shutdown is the answer. And sometimes here on TryHackMe or anything else, just like anything what you do in the real world, is you're going to go ahead and go out and you're going to just have to look for things. You're going to have to Google things or search whatever it is you use. DuckDuckGo, in my case, I prefer it for the privacy. But whatever you do, you're going to have to go out here and you're going to have to look. So whom is the Windows license registered to? So let's see. License. Usually this is my first thing that I do, is I just try to search, because sometimes in Windows 10 and 11 you can just get things. But okay, so we'll just go out to, we'll go to Tools. We will go back to our, where is it at here? About Windows. No, we don't want About Windows. We want System Information. So this might be able to tell me who it is that owns this. So, system name, manufacturer. Page file. Okay, so we want to know who is the Windows license associated with. Okay, so we can actually go out to settings here. We can go to accounts. And I guess this isn't going to show us other users. Maybe it'll show us this way. Activation. There we go. Activated using organizations. Service. No. Okay. Another DuckDuckGo. Who's the Windows license registered? So if I'm going to search this, I'm going to say, where can I find where Windows, who Windows is registered to? Things I haven't done in a long time. Like this is, and we also want to specify that in Windows 10. We're going to find out who Windows is registered to. So we could go to registry. That's one way of doing it. How do I check if the computer is registered? And yeah, there we go. This is something that I would probably look at. So how to change registered owner. So if we go to About Windows, and then it'll show us. Okay, so About Windows, that's what we want. Okay, so if we go back here, System Configuration, and then we go up to About Windows, and then launch that, we can see it's just registered to Windows user. All right. What is the command for Windows troubleshooting? What is the command for Windows troubleshooting? Oh, let's see. Control-Alt-Delete would be what I would start with. So what is the command for Windows troubleshooting? Again, we're just going to come out here and see if we can figure it out. What is the command for Windows troubleshooting? Oh, you know what? You know what? Actually, that helped me out a little bit. Command prompt registry editor. We want to go to, yeah, Windows troubleshooting. There we go. That's what we want. That's our ticket. Select all. I guess I can't. Oh, well, we'll type it out. We'll do it the hard way. C Windows System 32. Control.exe. Name. And then Microsoft troubleshooting. Submit that. And then what command will open the control panel? So this is the answer is the name of the exe, not the full path. So we need to look for control panel. All right, let's see. Open the file location here. I'll go to properties and then general data roaming system tools. No. What is the name of this? It's not that. That's not it. This is me troubleshooting in real time, guys. This is actually, I mean, this is really how you do it. This is really it. This is how you do troubleshooting and figuring things out on the fly here. So, control panel. It's not computer management. Control.exe, is that it? Yeah, that's probably it. System properties. That's right. That's what we want. So if we actually launch that, it's going to do control panel. Yeah. So that'll get us back to the control panel. We can make our changes. Okay. So that was it for this one, for our system configuration. So definitely a little bit more research on that one than what we've done in the past, but that's good because we're actually starting to dive into some more complex things, and that's what I want to see. So yeah, we'll take some notes on this because there's definitely some things that I learned along the way. And anytime you learn something, you got to take a good note. So what is the name of the service that lists systems internals as the manufacturer? So we're just going to copy this and save it because I want to keep that. So we will save that. And the answer is PS shutdown. And then we want to know control.exe because that'll be useful for like run, I think. That's actually handy. Control.exe is for control panel. And that's handy to have in the back of our pocket. Okay, moving along. Change UAC settings. So we're continuing with tools that are available through System Configuration Panel, right? Okay. And then we have UAC, or User Access Control, which was covered in the last box. The UAC settings can be changed or even turned off entirely, which is not recommended. I certainly don't recommend it. Please don't do that. You can move the slider to see how the settings will change the UAC settings and Microsoft's stance on the setting. Okay, so let's dive into that. Let's see. UAC. We have... let's see. what is the command to open user access control settings? The answer is the name of the exe. Okay. So change UAC settings. So that's actually our ticket right there. So we have user account control settings .exe. Okay. I'll submit that. We're going to actually open it up so that way we can see what it looks like. And we know that user account control settings, if I actually try to change this, it'll say notify me only when apps try to make changes to my computer, do not to my desktop. This would be bad for privacy reasons. You don't want to do that. Always notify me anytime I make changes. Like, that sounds really annoying, but you can actually ramp it up if you want to. I think this is probably a nice happy medium, but never notify apps try to install software. I make changes to Windows settings. I guess if you like don't care about security at all, like, yeah, I mean, you could do that, but I definitely care about security, so I'm not gonna recommend that to anybody ever. So don't do that. Don't turn off your UAC. We're continuing with tools that are available through the system configuration panel. The computer management utility has 3 primary sections: system tools, storage and services, and applications. Okay, so let's go to computer management. All right, we can open it up right here. Is it open already? No, it's not. I didn't think so. Okay, so yeah, if you remember, I talked about computer management. This is one area that I used to live out of whenever I was a sysadmin, and this is just a really handy place to go and do all your most frequent things, I would say. One of the areas that you spend a lot of time in. So this and Active Directory are 2 areas you'll spend a lot of time in. And we'll get to Active Directory. Okay, so computer management utility has 3 primary sections: system tools, storage and services, and applications. Yep, system tools, storage and services, and applications. So let's start with Task Scheduler. Per Microsoft Task Scheduler, we can create and manage common tasks that our computer will carry out automatically at the times we specify. A task can run an application, a script, etc., and tasks can be configured to run at any point. A task can run at login or at log off. Tasks can also be configured to run on a specific schedule, for example, every 5 minutes. Yep. Create a basic task, click on create basic task under actions. Yeah, so we can do create a basic task. And just waiting and waiting. There we go. Okay. And then you can actually create it. So let's just do this. We'll say like test. And so hit next. And we want it to run daily. And we want it to do it every single day. And then start a program. And then whatever the program is that we want to run. We can find the program that we have. Like, let's say we wanted to run Excel, for example, at a certain time of the day. It'll just start it up. And then you can add arguments and then finish it, and then it'll start that up. You can do it where it starts at boot, and you can actually create batch files. But yeah, so that's another way to do it. Okay, so which you still have to go into Task Scheduler and schedule it out this way. So next is Event Viewer. Yep. And this allows us to view events that have occurred on the computer. These records of events can be seen as an audit trail that can be used to understand the activity of the computer system. This information is often used to diagnose problems and investigate actions executed on the system. Okay. Yep. And this is where we would go to find like our logs and errors and things like that. So information is often used to diagnose problems and investigate actions executed on the system. Event Viewer has 3 panes. The pane on the left provides a hierarchical tree listing of the event log providers. The pane in the middle will display a general overview and summary of the events specific to a selected provider, and the pane on the right is the actions pane. Yep. So we got there. This is our overview and summary, right? And then we got our hierarchical tree. There are 5 types of events that can be logged. Below is a table from docs.microsoft providing a brief description for each. So we have error. This is an event that indicates a significant problem such as loss of data. If a service fails to load during startup, an error event is logged. So we actually have two here. This is interesting. What's this about? So dig into it. So VM tool service failed to start due to the following error. The system cannot find the file specified. So something with TryHackMe's setup of their box here. That's just interesting to know. And it could be completely, like, sometimes these things are just false flags. That's just what happens. An event that is not necessarily significant is a warning, but may indicate a possible future problem. For example, when disk space is low, information, an event that describes a successful operation of an application. When a network driver loads successfully, it may be appropriate to log an information event. Generally inappropriate for a desktop application to log an event each time it starts. Success audit, an event that records an audited security access attempt that is successful. User's successful attempt to log on to the system is logged. So this is something that I would be concerned with as a security administrator, as a security engineer or analyst, whatever you are. Failure audit, an event that records an audited security event, a security access attempt that fails, also really important. Failure. So failure and success are two areas that I would really want to be concerned with. Standard logs are visible under Windows logs. Below is a table from docs.microsoft.com providing a brief description for each. Cool. So we got contains events logged by applications. For example, database application might record a file error. The application developer decides which events to record. Contains events such as valid and invalid logon attempts, as well as events related to resource use, such as creating, opening, or deleting files or other objects. That's our security logs. Definitely handy. These are really important, actually, all of these. System contains event logged by system components, such as the failure of a driver or other system component to load during startup. And then custom log contains events logged by applications that create a custom log. Okay. So let's take out our notes and let's take some notes because these are important to keep in mind. Okay. So what do we need to know? We need to know what logs are important. Logs that are important to keep in mind. And I'll clean these notes up later and show you guys like kind of how I do that. Technical writing is like an essential skill that you need to have in this field. I would say it's like you just need to know how to like write and keep yourself well organized. It's like one of the most essential things. So we know we need to have our event logging. We know we need to have success audits, which allow us to see when an access attempt is successful, right? And then we know we want to have whenever a failure audit. I should capitalize that. Sorry. When an attempt fails. Okay. All right. So we know we have our event logs and then standard logs and custom logs. So event logs we have here, application, security, system, and custom log. And yeah, I totally agree with you, AO. I definitely think that the walkthroughs are just like they're frustrating. Like I haven't been a real big fan of them just because it kind of feels like you don't learn anything when you do them. So yeah, I definitely appreciate your thoughts on that. Thank you. Okay, so we got for more information about Event Viewer, refer to Windows Event Log Room. So there will be a room for this later, which will be cool. We can do that a little bit. Essentially, like where I've been at and my logs, like my logging journey is just, I don't really dive into the systems itself. You usually just take and you point the logs so that way they go to like a forwarder, like Splunk forwarder, and then it goes to your SIM tool. SIEM. If you don't know what that is, that's basically this right here. So I've mentioned this before in past streams, and I think that it's really important for anybody who wants to be in this field. Splunk is pretty much essential. I mean, if you really want to get good at log aggregation, you need to come in here and you need to understand like Splunk Enterprise Security. This is the leader in SIEM. SIEM. SIEM is typically how it's pronounced. I've heard it pronounced SIEM as well. Really depends on, I guess, where you're from in the world. But SIEM is a pretty standard way to say it. The E is silent, I guess. So, security analytics solution trusted by SOCs around the globe. I mean, basically, most security operations live, eat, breathe, and sleep Splunk. I mean, you're going to go ahead and forward everything that you have because you can't go in. Imagine this. Imagine you work as an administrator and you want to go ahead and collect all these logs, and you have to log into each system independently. Boom, boom, boom. And you're like trying to find a needle in a needle stack. You can't do that. It's not realistic. So you got to come out here and you got to find you have to find, like whatever it is you're looking for. And Splunk's the best way to do that. Like, it doesn't have to be Splunk. It could be other ones too. There's other SIMs too. Like, I've heard Panther's a really good one. There's other ones as well. Like, if you guys don't know what Gartner is like, let's just see. Okay, well, first I'll take you to Gartner and show you what Gartner is. Gartner is basically where you go to kind of stack against like different vendors that you're looking at. And they basically make a lot of money to do this sort of thing. Basically, they're an advisory firm focusing on business and technology topics. So Gartner's kind of like the go-to place. So like what I would do is, and you can see there, as I typed it, it said like Magic Quadrant. Like, this is one of the most essential things to kind of get used to. And they'll, like, these companies, these organizations will come out here and they'll be like, we got named for Magic Quadrant. Like, it's like a big deal. And don't get me wrong, like, it's a good achievement on their end. But like, you can see here how it stacks against competition. Like, right now, Splunk is the leader in this space. And you got IBM and Microsoft. And I think Microsoft's is called Sentinel, I'm pretty sure. Let's see, Microsoft Sentinel. But yeah, so yeah, this is our SIEM tool for Microsoft. So Microsoft Sentinel is a scalable cloud-native security information and event management that delivers intelligent and comprehensive solution. I have seen some orgs actually switch over to this because Splunk got bought out by Cisco. Some people aren't a fan of that, and because of that, they're like, all right, well, we're already a Microsoft shop. Let's just go ahead and have everything in Microsoft. Let's get Sentinel and get rid of Splunk because it's just too much money, right? And I say that, and look here, Cisco umbrella, right? Like, I mean, you kind of can't get away from Cisco. Like, they're such a powerhouse, but all this is to say that, like, when you're considering things, when you're considering what you're going to look at as far as like your aggregator and your like your logs, you gotta consider like going out here to Gartner and looking at like what you have. So what I would usually do is, if I could spell alternatives, yeah, I'm terrible at spelling, so I apologize on that one. But basically, you can come out here and Gartner will show you once we get this Cloudflare verify. Thank God it didn't do the CAPTCHA. But yeah, you can come out here and you can see, okay, so we got Tableau, right? And I don't even think that this is a like Splunk Cloud alternative. Like, this is not what you're looking for. So sometimes you'll go in the wrong direction. This is Power BI and Tableau. Like, this is more for like data analytics and things like that. We want to be a little bit more specific in what we're looking for. So yeah, analytics and business intelligence platforms. And Splunk makes other products. That's why I should have been more specific, but like Splunk Enterprise Security. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. That's more so what we want. So LogRhythm, right? Exabeam. So I've heard of Exabeam, IBM Security QRadar. At this point, I mean, maybe I'm a little biased, but I would never recommend IBM to anybody because I've had terrible experiences with IBM in my past. I don't really like their systems at all, but maybe they're really good, and maybe, they've shaped back up again. I mean, they used to be a powerhouse, and they used to be great, but, like, 2025, like, they're, We got Insight IDR by Rapid7. That's a big one. SolarWinds, if you still trust them. There was a big one about SolarWinds. SolarWinds Orion, and so basically there was a whole incident there a while ago. There we go. There's Microsoft Sentinel, and then we have ArcSight. So yeah, just some things to keep in mind if you're looking at things. Come out here to Gartner, and especially if you're trying to look and you're trying to write up something for your management, this is a good place to go. Anyway, back to Microsoft land. Let's go ahead and continue where we were at, since we've talked about our logs. So shared folders is where you'll see a complete list of shares and folders shared that others can connect to. In the above image under shares are the default share of Windows C $, and default remote administration shares. So such as admin $, right? So we want to go out to our share folders here, and that way we can actually understand what we have here. So shares, and so we have admin $, C $, IPC $, and then shared folder, which is probably something we're going to need to do here in a minute if I had to guess. As with any object in Windows, you can right click on a folder to view its properties. So we'll do this one here, and then click properties, and then see it's actually located under administrator desktop shared folder. Under sessions, you will see a list of under sessions you'll see a list of users who are currently connected to the shares. In this VM you won't see anybody connected to the shares. Okay. Yeah, so there's no items to view, right? Because nobody's actually connected up to any of those shares. And then we have all the folders and files that the connected users access will list under open files, and then the local users and groups, which you should be familiar with from Windows Fundamental. Yeah, so because it's local user manager, right? So you can actually do run, if you guys remember this, and then you could actually type in luser mgr.msc, and then it'll actually bring that up, and you can see. But how do we get out here again? If you guys remember, if you go out to not this, not that. Yeah, well, we could go out this way and get out to computer management and then launch this guy. And then, we're already in there. What am I doing? So you can get out here to local users and groups and see that. Yeah, which is exactly what it's trying to tell us to do. Okay, in the performance, you'll see a utility called Performance Monitor. And we'll wait for it to load up here. There we go. We can start to see some of the details here and dive down a little bit. Performance Monitor, and this should populate, but maybe not. Maybe we just, I don't know. I honestly haven't done much with this, so this is new to me. I haven't done a whole lot with this Performance Monitor. Usually if I need to monitor performance, I go out to Task Manager and then check performance and processes that way. I don't usually come in here to do anything with that. So, all right, Perfmon, or Performance Monitor, is used to view performance data either in real time or from a log file. This utility is useful for troubleshooting performance issues on a computer system, whether local or remote. Device Manager allows us to view and configure the hardware, such as disabling any hardware attached to the computer. Yeah, so we got right here Device Manager. And anybody who's ever gamed in their life, I remember years ago, I played this game that was called Rocksmith. Yeah, and that basically it came with this specific USB cable, and the USB cable would plug in, and then you'd have to go in here to Device Manager and then change things around because it never worked. Ubisoft really did not know what they were doing with that, and so they really screwed it up. Even to this day, I don't even think it works exactly the way that it should. So you'd have to come in here and remove it and then re-add it, and it was just hot garbage. But if you have issues with your peripherals, and what I mean by peripherals is your a USB or something that plugs into your machine, you could have a mouse or something like that. You can actually come in here and you can right click it and then uninstall the device and then, plug it back in and come back in. That's just one way. Under storage is Windows Server Backup, and disk management will only look at disk management in this room. Since the virtual machine is a Windows Server operating system, there are utilities available that you will typically not see. So we'll go out to storage, Windows Server Backup, disk management. And so you can see the drive information. There are utilities available that you would typically not see in Windows 10. Yeah. So that's good information to have. But for the most part, this really does look like the real deal. And then disk management is a system utility in Windows that enables you to perform advanced storage tasks. Some things you can do are set up a new drive, extend a partition, shrink a partition, and assign or change a drive letter. You can do this with like whatever drive you have. Like if you have a USB or an SD card or something, you can do it right here as well under disk management. You can also just get out here easily. You don't have to come out to, you can click on that disk management and then it'll give you, it's actually its own specific thing. You can work out of that if you want to. Okay. So services and applications. We have routing and remote access services and WMI control. So recall from the previous task, a service is a special type of application that runs in the background. Here you can do more than enable and disable a service, such as view the properties for the service. Okay. WMI control configures and controls the Windows management and instrumentation service. So let's click on that and figure out. WMI is the infrastructure for management, data, and operations on Windows-based operating systems. It is used to automate administrative tasks on remote computers and supply management data to other parts of the operating system and products. WMI allows scripting language such as VBScript or PowerShell to manage Microsoft Windows personal computers and servers, both locally and remotely. Microsoft also provides a command line interface to WMI called Windows Management Instrumentation Command Line. WMI-C is deprecated in Windows 10. Windows PowerShell is the superseding tool for that. So PowerShell is your baby. PowerShell all the way. PowerShell all the time. So if you're going to use Windows, PowerShell. If you're going to use Linux, Python. You got to get good at both a little bit. I am not good at both, so that's part of my journey here. I want to get pretty good at both, so we're going to do it together. What is the command to open computer management? The answer is the name of the MSC file, not the full path. Command to open computer management. So we got to come back out here to this, and we need to go to here, and so comp management.msc. And so that's a good note. We got to take that and open up computer management. Command to open computer management. And we know that needs to be comp mgmt.msc. Okay. At what time every day is the Google Update Task Machine UA task to run? So we want to go to Task Scheduler, Task Schedule Library, and we know we want Update Task Machine UA. So 6:15 a.m. every day. What is the name of the hidden folder that is shared? Ah, here we go. This is what we were looking for earlier. So we want to come over here and we want to have shared, spelled funny, shared folder. I don't even think it matters if I spell it like with the caps and everything for Try Hack Me, but yeah, that's it. Shared folder. Okay, moving ahead here. System information. We're continuing with tools that are available through the system configuration panel. What is the system information tool? MS Info 32. So we got to exit out of here. We got to get out of this computer management because we don't need that. Okay, so system configuration, and we want to go to MS Info 32. System information. Launch. Yeah, and this is where we were at before, actually. So if you're doing things like if you're a gamer like, and you have to send in like a troubleshooting log or something like that to Steam, usually this is where they ask you to go ahead and go, and then you can pull it out and then send it to them. You can save, export, and send it to them, and then they can tell information about your system if you're having issues. So like if you build a custom rig, this is where you go, system information. So I'm sure probably a lot of you guys have done that, and so I'm preaching to the choir right now. But for those who haven't, this is a handy place to go for kind of understanding your hardware and what you got installed on your machine. So one thing I'll say is that if you have a specific motherboard in your machine and you need to update the BIOS for whatever reason, this is usually where you can come out to, and you can see BIOS version date, Zen 4.11, Amazon. So whatever this is running on is probably running on AWS, if I had to guess. So we have system summary will display general technical specifications for the computer, such as processor, brand, and model. The information displayed in hardware resources is not for the average computer user. If you want to learn more about this section, refer to the Microsoft page. So you can see kind of the input output of this, and yeah, this is so some conflicts here, DMA, forced hardware, IO, CRIO information. This is like very low level, and so I don't think you need to know much about this. I've never dealt with this personally, never had to, but it's good to have. If you're gonna, this is probably like when you send that information out to Valve, like for Steam, this is probably some of the stuff they're looking at, like the engineers, whoever's troubleshooting. They probably dive deeper into that section. Under components, you can see specific information about the hardware devices and the installed on the computer. Some sections don't show any info, but some sections do, such as display and input. So let's see display. See our display information, adapter type, VGA BIOS, right? And then input. Let's see what we got for input. It's probably going to be something with like VMware or something like that. Remote desktop keyboard device. Pointing device, VMware pointing device. So we know they're running VMware for this box. That's kind of how they have things set up. In this software environment section, you can see information about software baked into the operating system and software you have installed. Other details are visible in this section as well, such as the environment variables and network connections. So let's see, system environment. Where are we at here? I kind of got myself lost here. There we go. System environment, system drivers, and our environment variables. This is one of our most important here. Path, right? So using Python, you have to extend your path, or if you need to add certain things, this is an important place to be. You need to know your system environment variables. Super important stuff. This is actually really a good place to be. I'm happy that TryHackMe is covering this. Of course they're covering it. I mean, they're TryHackMe. They're great. Recall from the Windows Fundamentals 1 room where environment variables was briefly touched on. Yep, per Microsoft environment variables store information about the operating system environment. This information includes details such as the OS system path, the number of processors used by the operating system, and the location of temporary folders. Cool. The environment variables store data that is used by the operating system and other programs, for example, Winder right here, right? Environment variable contains the location of the Windows installation directory. Programs can query the value of this variable to determine where Windows operating system files are located. So that's good information to have. So you can click on environment variables to see the assigned values for the virtual machine. Got lots of temps here. Another method to view environment variables is to go to Control Panel, System and Security, System Advanced System Settings, Environment Variables, or this path right here as well. System About, System Info, Advanced System Settings, Environment Variables. So I think, and I'm not 100% positive, yeah, you can actually just do that, type Environment Variables, and then you can start to change it. You can click here, environment variables, and you can add some new things if you want, or edit the current one. So you can see here, this is for path, and I can do, new, and I could add in whatever I wanted here. If I wanted to add a new system, new path, whatever it is, like, I don't know, if I had like some kind of like special like PowerShell script or something, I would think probably come out here and add it there if I needed to. I don't know. There's other reasons why you would want to go ahead and add those things, but good information to have for your notes. And speaking of notes, let's get in there and add that in. So we know we need to have this information. This is where we want to configure our environment variables. So let's add that in and get that added into our notes here. Where to edit environment variables like path. That's where we go. Cool. All right, moving on. The detour is over. Let's redirect our attention back to MSInfo32 and pick up where we left off. So we've got IP address. So if we go to network and then adapter and then the IP address, we can see it's not available on this. Towards the very bottom, there is a search bar. Select components and search for IP address, which we didn't really need to do because it was right there. But we can click find, and it's going to find it. And there it is. Okay. Search selected category only. I forgot to check that box. I needed that. And so, yeah, we get that back. Okay, so what is the command to open system information? So we got to come back here. System information, msinfo32.exe. Boop, not that. msinfo32.exe. Cool. What is listed under system name? System name, system summary, system name, THM WinFund 2. THM WinFund 2. That's our answer for that one. And then under environment variables, what is the value for COM spec? So we got our environment variables, and we're looking for COM spec right here. So what is the value? We got our percent system root, another percent, system 32, and then command.exe, com spec. Cool. Another one done. Okay. Resource monitor. We're continuing with tools that are available through the system configuration panel. Yep. What is the resource monitor? So let's go to that. Resource monitor. Okay. Launch that. Cool. All right. So there we got our resource monitor. It's a little bit more of an advanced version of when we go out to Task Manager and we look at our performance and our processors. And you can actually see right here, there's got a nice little handy open resource monitor right here. Keep that in your hat. That's handy to have. But yeah, okay. So resource monitor displays our process and aggregate CPU, memory, disk, and network usage information, in addition to providing details about which processes are using individual file handles and modules. Advanced filtering allows users to isolate the data related to one or more processes, start, stop, pause, and resume services, and close unresponsive applications from the user interface. It also includes a process analysis feature that can help identify deadlocked processes and file locking conflicts so that the user can attempt to resolve the conflict instead of closing an application and potentially losing data. Yeah. Okay. So basically just a place that you can kind of check up on things. So we got CPU, disk, network, and memory. So your four horsemen. So basically what's going on if you have a problem with your computer. And also the four horsemen thing is this, I'm stealing that a little bit from IT Pro TV. Years ago, I watched IT Pro TV. And on that, basically, There's a guy named Wes. I think his name was Wes, and he basically talked about the four horsemen. So the things you need to look for if you have issues with your system. You have CPU, your disk, your network, and your memory, and then you can go ahead and dive into what's going on here. Where do we start? What's going on with the machine itself? Is there an issue? So anyway, same four sections have corresponding tabs across the top. Our four horsemen. Note that each tab has additional information for each. An image is shown below for each tab. CPU, memory, disk, network. Yeah. So what is the command to open resource monitor? And like really this is going to be helpful if like you're really having some issues with your machine. You can come out here and kind of figure out if there's something really wonky going on. Excuse me. Okay. Resource monitor. Resmon.exe. Cool. Our command prompt, which has been deprecated for, well, I don't want to say deprecated. I mean, it's still useful. It's still there, but like PowerShell has really kind of, become the de facto place to go ahead and do things. So we're continuing with tools that are available through the sysconfig panel. Well, I think that's like the 100th time I've said that. But anyway, command prompt CMD can seem daunting at first, but it's really not that bad once you understand how to interact with it. Just like the shell in Linux CLI, right? So in early operating systems, command line was the sole way to interact with the operating system. They didn't have GUIs. When the GUI was introduced, it allowed users to perform complex tasks with a few clicks of a button instead of entering commands in the command prompt. Even though the GUI is the primary way to interact with the OS, a computer user can still interact via the command prompt. And this task will only cover a few commands that a computer user can run in the command prompt. So we got host name and who am I. So, all right, let's go ahead and open up command. And all right, so, which, I mean, just for sake of like continuing with what they want us to do, you can just go ahead and click here under system configuration and do it that way, or you can just come out here and just type in cmd.exe. So we're going to do it the way that I like because it's what I'm used to. And so we're going to do host name, and there's our host name, which we already found out earlier. And then who am I? And that tells us who our account is that we're logged in under. Let's look at some commands that are useful when troubleshooting. So we got ipconfig. And so this will tell you basically all the info that you need to know about the computer that you're running on. So this is ours. Next, let's look at some commands that are useful when troubleshooting. Yeah, so each command will have a help manual to explain the expected syntax to execute the command properly, along with any additional parameters. Yep. So a command to retrieve the help manual for command is /?. So ipconfig /?. And now we can get all that help. So that's like our man. Like whenever we do the man page on Linux, that's the same exact idea. So see the help manual for ipconfig, we could do what I just did, literally what I just did. So to clear the command prompt screen, the command is cls. Not nice because obviously we're used to clear in Linux and hey, it doesn't work. But I think it does work in PowerShell because there's like a translation because people use bash and so they know that, and so they allow people to use things that they're used to in Linux. So CLS for clear screen. The next command is netstat. Per the help terminal, or per the help manual, this command will display protocol statistics and current TCP/IP network connection. So netstat. We can see TCP, local address, foreign address, and then established. Okay. And so in the above image, the line within the red box shows us an example syntax for the command. The structure tells us the netstat command can be run alone with parameters such as -a, -b, and -e. When any of the parameters are appended to the root command netstat. In this case, the output changes. Play with a few to see for yourself. The net command is primarily used to manage network resources. This command supports subcommands. So you got like net. If you type net without a subcommand, the output will show the syntax for the root command, showing a few of the subcommands. So let's do that. Net. So you got accounts, computer, config, continue, file, group, help message, local group, etc. For the net command to display the help manual / question will not work. In this case, you need to use a different syntax, which is net help. And you can kind of understand why PowerShell came out, because PowerShell, like people, for your average person, like trying to learn this and remember all of it, and Bash, like it's not easy. Like I think that probably what they thought of when they were like, let's do PowerShell, they were like, we got to make this so that way people who are used to using Bash, which is way easier in my opinion to remember all those different commands, could just come in here and do the same exact idea. So if you wish to use the help information net user, the command is net help user. So let's do that. Net help user. And then we can see, like, you know, we got here full name, expires, country code, etc. You can use the same command to view the help information for other useful net subcommands such as local group, use, share, and session. And system configuration. What is the full command for the Internet Protocol configuration? So, for the Internet Protocol configuration, we got a mouthful here. Let's see if we can just copy that and then just paste that in. So, because you're not going to need to remember this. But Winder, System32, ipconfig. For the ipconfig command, how do you show detailed information? So, we want to go ahead and do, if you guys remember, we want to do, let's see, ipconfig / question. And so if we want to see /all, and that should give us all of the information that we need. Okay. All right. Registry editor. Definitely an essential one here. So we're continuing with tools that are available through sysconfig. I think I've said that for the millionth time at this point. The Windows registry per Microsoft is a central hierarchical database used to store information necessary to configure the system for one or more users. This is basically the heart of your system. And so the registry contains information that Windows continually references during operations, such as profiles for each user, applications installed on the computer, and the types of documents that each can create. Properties, sheets, settings for folders and application icons, what hardware exists on the system, the ports that are being used. The registry is for advanced computer users. Making changes to the registry can affect normal computer operations. In other words, don't come in here and just make a bunch of changes, because regedit will screw up your system terribly. You do not want to just go messing around in regedit. But you can do things like with Windows 11. I know, like, one thing is, like, there was this whole thing with the TPM. And so with TPM, if you don't know what TPM is, let me just show you. But TPM, Trusted Platform Module, you needed to be able to have this enabled. But you could actually come out to, you could actually disable TPM, or disable TPM requirement for Windows 11, and then, you know, follow along with the instructions, and then it will tell you basically if you could just you could install Windows 11 on your system even if you didn't have the TPM requirement. So that's the sort of thing that you would want to do in regedit. That's where things like that can come in handy. So what's the command to open regedit? So we have regedit without the I there, regedit32.exe, and then we submit that, and we got our answer. And that's it for this box. So msconfig. Recall the tasks covered in this room were some of the tools that can launch from msconfig. This means you don't have to launch msconfig to run these utilities. You can also run some of these utilities directly from the start menu, right? So let's see what that looks like. So if we go here and we go to Windows Administrative Tools, these are our main areas. And then we also have Windows System down here, and boom, we can actually see some more Windows Administrative Tools, right? Yeah, so we got all of our tools right here. Handy dandy. I like it. That's what I want to see. That's the main thing that I want to take and drive home, is that you can access pretty much everything right here from start. There are people out there that probably would live out of this thing, system configuration. And how do we get out there? MS config. System configuration. This is what we want. Okay. So keep that in mind. System configuration is a very important, very powerful tool, and it will definitely get you far. So I am going to take a very brief intermission, and I will be back for some more Try Hack Me. I'll see you guys here in a few minutes. Okay, all right. Sean talks cybersecurity. Here we go. We got some more action coming your way. I needed to take a little break here and get something to drink. Definitely, definitely a little thirsty here. But I'm going to dive into some more here. And thanks for watching the live stream today, guys. Really appreciate it. I know that this isn't my typical thing of what I do, but I'm trying something new because, I really just want to get better at and get into the meat of it, get into really the nitty gritty of what is hacking and why is it fun? Why is hacking fun? And just kind of show you guys that. So that's the reason why I'm doing this. I want to get past all the easier stuff and get into some of the more fun stuff. So I'm gonna dive into that. Okay, here we go. Windows Fundamentals 3. Let's finish this box up. Okay. Give them a like. All right, so we need to know that are administrator and let me in 123. So we can come back up here if we need that. But let's start things off with Windows updates. So Windows Update is a service provided by Microsoft to provide Microsoft security updates, features, enhancements, and patches for the Windows operating system. And updates are typically released on the second Tuesday of each month. This day is called Patch Tuesday. That doesn't necessarily mean that a critical update patch has to wait for the next Patch Tuesday to be released. If the update is urgent, then Microsoft will push the update via the Windows Update service to the Windows devices. Yep. So if there's like a 0 day, they're going to push out an update, and it's going to be considered urgent. And so I've seen that before in my own career. I would say pay attention to Patch Tuesday, pay attention to what's going on and the Microsoft updates land. So some of my favorite resources for like figuring out what's going on. So Dark Reading is one. Dark Reading, you can come out here and see what's going on, if they have any new articles published. So how economic headwinds influence ransomware ecosystem, OAuth attacks target Microsoft and GitHub, and sometimes they'll have some things. Bleeping Computer is also another good one, and the Hacker News. Like, these are like the go-tos for what's going on. So Microsoft, Adobe, DocuSign, OAuth apps, target Microsoft 365 account. That's some important info right there. Okay, and so what else do we got here? So the Hacker News. Maybe they'll have some information about Microsoft updates. Unpatched Windows 0-day flaw exploited by 11 state-sponsored threat groups since 2017. So yeah, basically, living out of those and kind of understanding what's going on in the world of cybersecurity is important in your day-to-day. Definitely want to address that. So Windows Update is located in Settings, Control, Name, Microsoft Windows Updates. Usually you just can come out here and just go to Settings and Windows Updates. But it is good to know this Control, Name, when Microsoft Windows Updated. You need to get it in that way. Maybe there's malware installed in the system and they don't even let you in the GUI, and you need to get in a different way. Okay, in the attached VM, there are a few things to highlight. The Windows Update settings are managed. Yep. Typically, home users will not see this type of message. There are no available updates available for the virtual machine. The virtual machine does not have internet access to communicate with Microsoft to obtain new updates, right? So they're never going to get the new updates unless they install them manually, which I'm guessing TryHackMe does. Throughout the years, Windows users have grown accustomed to pushing Windows updates off to a later date or not installing the updates at all. Guys, don't do this. Like, please don't be one of these people that just pushes the Windows updates off. I can tell you, I worked at an organization, and they did not take patching very seriously, and it's not a good idea. Like, you don't want to just keep on pushing your Windows updates off. Like, 0 days come out for these Microsoft systems all the time, and their Patch Tuesdays are always chock full of things that are full of updates that are important for the system. If you don't update your system, then you're just a sitting duck, really. You gotta keep up with your patches. And to dive a little bit deeper into that, and not keep it at so surface level, like, if you don't, and you have like a port open, or Windows Firewall isn't configured correctly or something, somebody can get into that system and they can wreck that thing, And so then if it's a Windows server and it's on a network and it's attached via AD, then they can have lateral movement. It's just not good. Like, you gotta it's an easy thing to keep up with. Update your systems, make sure that it's not something that falls off the radar. It's not a hard thing to do. Microsoft notably addressed this issue with Windows 10. The updates can no longer be ignored or pushed to the side until forgotten. Windows updates can only be postponed, but eventually the update will happen and your computer will reboot. Microsoft provides these updates to keep devices safe and secure, as they should. I mean, I agree with that logic. It makes total sense. It pisses some people off who are in, like old school managers or whatever, but like, you gotta have it. Like, you gotta, well, I don't know why we're zooming in, but basically they should be updating. They should be forcing those updates. And like, there's ways that people can come in here and they can do like reg edits and they can stop that from happening. But like, it's it's something that needs to be happening. There were 2 definition updates installed on the attached VM. Let's see, view update history. And so definition updates, and that was 5/3 of 2021. And so that's our answer for that one. Windows security. Windows security is your home to manage the tools that protect your device and your data. In case you missed it, Windows security is also available in settings. Right, and then you can also get out to it. Like there usually is a caret menu here. You can get out to it there. So we go out to settings, and then come back here to Windows security. Which is not what I want. We go to, yeah, there we go. It's under update and security. And then we got here to Windows security. And then you can see here, virus and threat protection. Pull that up. So in the above image, you can focus your attention on protection areas, such as real-time protection being turned off, right? So that sort of thing. Each, you have firewall and network protection, and you can actually adjust your firewall settings here, allow an app through firewall. Like maybe you're playing like League of Legends or something, and you want to allow that through the firewall. You could do that. That's just one example. Or anything like that. Like, I don't know, maybe you're playing Call of Duty. I don't know what your flavor is, but, you know, whatever you play, you know, that's gamers usually allow apps through firewalls. That's one area that I've seen. But that's just one little key area. So before proceeding, let's provide a quick comment on the status icons. Green means your device is sufficiently protected. There aren't any recommended actions. Yellow is that there's a safety recommendation for you to review, and red is a warning that something needs your immediate attention. So click on Windows Security, and that's what we've done already. So come back here. Since the attached VM is Windows Server 2019, it looks different from Windows 10 Home or Professional Edition. The image below is from Windows 10 devices. So check in the security section of your VM which area needs immediate attention. We know we need our virus and threat protection settings. Real-time protection. Real-time, well, I guess that's not the right thing. Virus and threat protection. Okay, which is our next one, virus and threat protection. It's divided into 2 parts, current threats and virus and threat protection settings. Now, if you're running Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, then these endpoint, like the Windows security, right, is going to be running on the endpoint, but then your Defender and your dashboard is going to basically, let me see if I can pull up something here so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. But your dashboard is actually going to be what you live out of, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. And so from here, you can actually come in, and these are all just like marketing things. This isn't what I want. This is kind of a basically, this is what a dashboard looks like, right? And so usually it's for like enterprise customers, people who have a lot of endpoints. Come out here and you can actually manage your systems, and then see like what needs mitigated and, you know, what is problematic. There we go. There's some policies. So you got some endpoint security policies here, and you can change some things around. This looks like it's an older setup because, you know, they've changed kind of the look and feel around a little bit. This is more so what the newer feel is like. But I would encourage you to come out and learn some Defender for Endpoint. Maybe at some point in the future I'll cover that a little bit too. But it's a good thing. But basically, you can allow your end users to just come out here and scan, you know, whenever they want. They can do a quick scan themselves. But if you have endpoint Defender for Endpoint, it's going to just kind of run it out itself anyway. And there's other things too, like CrowdStrike and other big names and big players, Malwarebytes. They'll do all that stuff for you as well. It just really depends on what you like. I would say my own personal preference is I would just stick with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint and then just stick with Windows Security because it's easiest to manage. If you have Microsoft in your environment, it just makes things a lot easier. Quick scan checks folders in your systems. Full scan checks all files and running programs. This scan could take longer than 1 hour. And then custom scan, choose which files and locations you want to check. And threat history, Windows Defender Antivirus automatically scans your device for viruses and other threats to help keep it safe. So I don't like the term virus. I wish that they would just say malware, but it is what it is. Quarantine threats. Quarantine threats have been isolated and prevented from running on your device. They will be periodically removed. And then allowed threats are items identified as threats, whatever Defender considers a threat. Like one that comes to mind is like Valorant. Like when Valorant came out, I'm pretty sure that Defender flagged that as a threat, or whatever the thing is that they install. I don't know 100% off the top of my head. I can't remember, but I think it was flagged as a threat if I remember correctly. Virus and threat protection settings. We have managed settings, so we got real-time protection, locates and stops malware from installing or running on your device. Cloud delivered protection provides increased and faster protection with access to the latest protection data in the cloud. Automatic sample submission, send samples to Microsoft to help protect you from potential threats. Controlled folder access protects files, folders, and memory areas on your device. Exclusions, basically areas that you don't want Defender to check. And then notifications, basically notifications will say, hey, you got an issue on your system, Excluded items contain threats that make your device vulnerable. Only use this option if you're 100% sure of what you're doing. So most people shouldn't use the exclusion feature. Okay, so we got check for updates. You can manually check for updates to update Windows Defender antivirus definitions. Controlled folder access, and if you remember, that's where we come here, and we can do where were we at? So check for updates. Yeah, right here. Check for updates. You can actually come out and manually check. Controlled folder access ransomware protection requires this feature to be enabled, which in turn requires real-time protection to be enabled. I will say this, in my own real-world experience, the controlled folder access can be a real pain in the butt. I won't recommend it just because it really makes it difficult to work with certain things. Like it even says here, real-time protection is turned off. Decrease the chances of performance issues since the VM can't reach the internet and there aren't any threats in the VM. This is safe to do. Real-time protection should definitely be enabled in your personal Windows device unless you have a third-party product that provides the same protection. Yes, it is helpful, but I would say that in some instances, a lot of instances, honestly, it's in cybersecurity. You have the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And so with that, you have basically, let me see here. I got to turn my tablet on here. 1 second. Okay. So let's see. So we've got confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So we got confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So basically, this is your CIA triad. And so you can have a bunch of confidentiality, right? And a bunch of integrity, right? This part right here is all shaded up. And then you got no availability, right? Or you can have a bunch of availability, whoops, and then, oh, look at that. Now we don't have any confidentiality and integrity. Maybe we have confidentiality and availability. Usually what I'm trying to get at with this graphic is you usually only have one or two, whoops, sorry about that, guys. Basically, you usually only have like one or two, right, of that you can have at a time. I mean, you can have all three. Ideally, you want all three of these guys. You want confidentiality, integrity, and availability. That's the winning ticket, right? But it's not always going to be the case that you're going to have all three. So the idea here is that if you have confidentiality and integrity, then the delivery of your systems, of your data, the delivery of your data is going to not have any changes to it. And so, like, let's say you send an email, and you send this email to like your colleague, right? And it goes to, Sally, and she says, "Is it really from Bob?" Right? So this is Bob, and so Bob sends the email, and so we got to make sure that the email gets there and it's legitimately not changed, right? Not changed. And at the same time, you don't want anybody to read that, so you add encryption. So you add a little lock here, right? And so you have basically you have a little lock and it's encrypted, and so now we've added confidentiality into it. Okay, so now we've added confidentiality, but the availability now Sally here talking to Bob, she has to put in a password in order to access that. So now we've decreased the availability of it. We've said, okay, well now you have to take an extra step just to open this email, and so Sally's mad now because she's like, why did you take and make me have to type in this password? It's not good. It's not good for her. She's not happy about it. But it's good for the organization because now we know that the email was not changed, right? We know it's not changed, and we know it was encrypted, so nobody could read it except for Sally because she was the intended recipient. But yeah, essentially, this is a balancing act in cybersecurity, and this is what I'm trying to get at when I talk about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. This is the heart of cybersecurity right here. If you have availability all the time, you're not going to have the encryption. You're not going to be able to know all the time that things weren't changed. So you kind of have to balance all these. Just keep that in mind as you think about cybersecurity. Okay, so specifically, what is turned off that Windows is notifying you to turn on? So, what is Windows notifying me to turn on? Real-time protection is off. Real-time protection. So we got to turn that on. Okay. Firewall and network protection. What is a firewall? So traffic flows in and out of devices via what we call ports. A firewall is what controls what is, and more importantly, isn't allowed to pass through these ports. You can think of it like a security guard standing at the door, checking the ID of everything that tries to enter or exit. The below image will reflect what you will see when you navigate to firewall and network protection. Right, so each network may have a different status icons for you. What is the difference between the three? Domain, private, and public. So come out here, take a look at this. So domain is basically like your, if you work in an enterprise, private is like your house, and public is if you're at a coffee shop. I love that they do the little graphics because it makes it easier for you to understand, and most people to understand. So domain applies to networks where the host system can authenticate to a domain controller, a DC, which is essential for Active Directory. Private, the private profile is a user assigned profile and used to designate private or home networks. And then the default profile is public, which is for public networks such as Wi-Fi hotspots, coffee shops, airports, etc. If you click on any firewall profile, another screen will appear with two options: turn the firewall on, off, and block all incoming connections. Yep. So we can click on that and turn it off if we want, and turn it back on. It's pretty simple, easy to use. There's more complex settings here that we can actually do. So you could go out to let's see, there should be, so we can actually go to advanced settings here, and it should pop open the window and control panel, and then you can actually take and set inbound rules or outbound rules. So you can block ports. You can set basically only certain websites or data should come in and everything else blocked, right? And you can actually really customize this. So you can just come out here and make some changes that way. Definitely would get familiar with this because some of the things you do in your job as a cybersecurity professional will be spent doing that. You can view what the current setting for any firewall profiles are. In the above image, several apps have access in the private and or public firewall profile. Some of the apps will provide additional information if it's available via the details button. So let's see. Allow an app through firewall. So we need to actually minimize this and click on this. And then we can actually see all the different settings here like it has here. Advanced settings, which is what I just pulled up. And that actually allows us to go ahead and really customize things. If you're connected to airport Wi-Fi, what most likely is the active firewall profile. That would be our public profile. Is that just, did I not put the right wording in there, or? Public network, I'm sorry, public network. All right, app and browser control. In this section, you can change the settings for the Microsoft Defender Smart Screen. Per Microsoft Defender Smart Screen protects against phishing or malware, websites and applications, and the downloading of potentially malicious files. Right. So here, and then app and browser control. So this is Smart Screen, and basically exploit protection is built into Windows 10 to help protect your device against attacks. Out of the box, your device is already set up with protection settings that work best for most people. So you can do Windows Defender Smart Screen, helps protect your device by checking for unrecognized apps and files from the web. Download a malicious thing, it comes up and says Windows protected your PC. Exploit protection is built into Windows 10, and in our case Windows Server 2019. And we can actually see our settings here. Control flow guard, data execution prevention. And so you can actually customize these things if you want, but you don't always have to. I wouldn't recommend doing it, and honestly just kind of leave it do its thing, because those are the best practices. Device security, even though you'll probably never change any of these settings for completion's sake, it will be covered briefly. So device security itself, core isolation, memory integrity, which doesn't look like it's actually on this machine, but you can do this. Malicious code into high security processors, details. This is for the TPM, like I mentioned earlier. So TPM is essential for Windows. And so TPM technology is designed to provide hardware-based security-related functions. A TPM chip is a secure crypto processor that is designed to carry out cryptographic operations. This chip includes multiple physical security mechanisms to make it tamper-resistant, and malicious software is unable to tamper with the security functions of the TPM. So trusted platform module. Okay. BitLocker, essential for the ransomware in today's age. So BitLocker Drive encryption is data protection feature that integrates with the operating system and addresses the threats of data theft or exposure from lost, stolen, or inappropriately decommissioned computers. Basically, turn on BitLocker. If you're not using BitLocker, turn it on. Use BitLocker. It's essential, especially in these ransomware crazy times for enterprises. I don't necessarily think you need to have it on if you're for your home PC, but turn it on anyway just because you should. I mean, like, it's easy to set up and it doesn't like lock you out. So BitLocker provides the most protection when used with a TPM. TPM is a hardware component. We just went over what TPM is. And so essentially refer to Microsoft documentation here to talk more about it. But basically it's just a way to protect your drive and just use it. It's encrypting your drive. It's going to make it so that you don't have to worry about, the threat of ransomware. We should use a removable drive on systems without a TPM version 1.2 or later. What does this removable drive contain? All right, let's see. Curious what they mean by this. Refer to Microsoft documentation. Oh, okay. Let's open this link in a new tab. We should use a removable drive on systems without. Does it say we should? We should use a removable drive on systems without a TPM version 1.2 or later. Yeah. Yeah, so there we go. For BitLocker to use the system integrity check, The device must have TPM 1.2 or later versions. If a device doesn't have TPM, saving a startup key on a removable drive is mandatory. So, what does this removable drive contain? Startup key. Yep. Volume shadow copy service. Honestly, though, just my own 2 cents on this. Like, if you have a PC this day and age without this, you probably should upgrade at this point, because I think everything's running TPM2 at this point, and so you shouldn't have a PC. I mean, maybe you don't have a choice. Like, then do it this way. But if you have the ability to financially, do a startup key, or don't do the startup key, install, get an upgrade on your system, and just get something that's running TPM2. Per Microsoft, the Volume Shadow Copy Service coordinates with the required actions to create a consistent shadow copy, snapshot, or a point in time of the data that is to be backed up. Volume shadow copies are stored in the system volume information folder on each drive that has protection enabled. If VSS is enabled, you can perform the following tasks: create a restore point, perform a system restore, configure restore settings, and delete restore points. From a security perspective, malware writers know of this Windows feature and write code in their malware to look for these files and delete them. Doing so makes it impossible to recover from a ransomware attack unless you have an offline or off-site backup. Yeah, so offline or off-site backup. Make sure, if you work in a highly critical information, whatever it is you do, healthcare, whatever, you make sure you have that nice offline or off-site backup. Super important. So let's see if we can go out to File Explorer and then click on our nice C drive here. Once it loads up, taking a while, and configure shadow copies. We can see here that these are disabled. But if we wanted to, basically, if you wish to interact hands-on with VSS, I suggest exploring day 23. That's cool. Volume shadow, what is it? Volume shadow copy service. Yeah, volume shadow copy service. Okay. Basically, this is another protection for ransomware. You should be doing this as well, and you should be backing these up to an offline source. Important stuff. Okay. In this room, we covered several built-in Windows security tools that ship with Windows OS to help keep the device protected. There's still so much to explain and cover regarding Windows OS, as mentioned in the Windows Fundamentals One Room. Content is aimed at those who wish to understand and use Windows OS on a more comfortable level. Okay. Learn more, continue the journey on your own. Further reading material. There's these right here. And so we might have to come back to some of this, but AD is going to be our baby later on. We're going to have to focus on that. That's our main bread and butter in the Windows world. So we'll get there. Okay. All right. Well, let's see. What else we got here? Let's go to Learn. Go back to our paths. Not our paths, but our actual roadmap. And let's continue on. We've already done a lot of this, so we're not going to go back through. Windows command line, PowerShell, and Linux shells. We got some networking stuff. That's kind of handy. Maybe we'll dive into some of this stuff here. Cybersecurity 101. There's some good stuff in here. Some things I haven't touched. So yeah, let's do this. Let's go ahead and dive into that program, and then we'll come down and do the penetration tester path and continue, and then we'll do some AWS, some security engineer. So but we're going to continue with this because our goal is to become a master hacker. We must become the master hacker. Okay. Let's start this and continue. Well, thanks for joining the live stream, by the way. Anybody who's live and watching, really appreciate it. I know this is a little different from what I've been doing, but it's been good so far. I'm enjoying it. Yeah, so we don't really need that one. We just need to go to... Interesting. So this is like a copy of the same thing that we were just doing. Just a little different. That's really bizarre, but why they did that way, I don't know. We did the pre-security, and so we do want to do cybersecurity 101. And so we already did our Linux fundamentals. We did Windows. Ah, sweet. We get some Active Directory here. That's good. So basically, they just took and updated it, it looks like. Windows command line, PowerShell, Linux shells, networking, cryptography, all the good stuff. This is awesome. Awesome. So I think this is where we're going to continue next. I think this is going to be my goal, is to continue from here and dive into some more. We'll start off with this search skill, since it's probably an easy one, and then talk about how we can use these different searches to improve ourselves as a hacker. So I think that's going to be it for the live stream for today. I'm going to switch over to my main cam. I'll probably clip some of these up and send them out as videos on YouTube. So just want to say thanks for everybody who actually came in on the live stream, and really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. Thanks again for joining the live stream today. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you later.